Year 12s, I just thought I'd take this opportunity to quickly talk through the Klavierstück, the Anton Webern piano study that we looked at in class today, principally for those who were away on Heron. Please have a look at Canvas and have a read through all that information there. Have a look at the score and listen to the recording, and yeah, let me know what you think when you get back, because it was quite confronting in class today, this music. Now, we're well in the depths of atonality now in the second Viennese school. This composition is by Anton Webern, and Arnold Schoenberg and Alban Berg round out the second Viennese school. So Schoenberg essentially led this charge, and he developed eventually the 12-tone system as a way of organising his atonal ideas, in terms of pitch at least anyway. We had an interesting discussion in class about how this is still it's latching onto tradition really quite strongly in many ways, in terms of form and rhythm and things like that too, and these ideas that keep repeating throughout this work. If I just sort of really quickly highlight one, this idea as you look through the score appears quite a lot. So there's still a lot of tradition that we're sort of grappling onto here, but the use of pitch is radically different essentially, or not essentially, is radically different. So we're going to have a look at that in this little video as well. So Schoenberg developed essentially what's called, he turned the 12-tone system, and it essentially puts all 12 chromatic pitches on equal footing. So there's no hierarchy, there's no harmony really that is even suggested as being close to the harmony we might expect in works sort of predating this school, or even like lush chromatic harmony and stuff like that. It's all 12 notes are of equal importance. It avoids the establishment of a key. Traditional use of chords and sounds essentially are avoided. There's no hierarchy, there's nothing. It's just 12 notes, all of equal value. So if we have a look at those 12 notes in this composition, we'll sort of see how it's used in this piece. So essentially this work is based entirely on the original row that Webern has devised, which I'll just write up now on top. So excuse the handwriting. So we've got A, B flat, B natural, G sharp, G, C sharp, D, E flat, F sharp, F, E, and C. So there we have 12 pitches there. If you have a look at that, unlike the Berg, there's nothing really that jumps out at you in terms of, oh, there's a major triad that's in there, or whatever the case may be. It's actually quite all over the shop. There's got this chromatic movement at the start, got a few chromatic movement a bit through it, which is really, I guess, trying to strongly pull it away from any association to tonality. But if we just number these as well, what we end up with essentially is 12 tones that become, I'll just finish this, 12 tones that become our original row. So we'll call that P0. The entire composition uses this row. So from bar 1 to bar 20, it uses this row in its entirety and in this sequence in every instance. Now, we did find one or two little inconsistencies in this. There is some enharmonic use as well, so G flat and F sharp, like it's the same pitch essentially, but just labelled a different way. But the ordering of those 12 pitches remains the same throughout this entire composition. And I guess what we had a look at today in class is where that is sort of applied. So if we're just going to label these notes first in red. So I've got A, B flat, B flat repeated again. Now we've got our B natural. Just watch the clefs here. G sharp, G, C sharp, D, E flat, because we're in bass clef. We have F sharp, F natural, and E, and then C. I'm just going to draw a line here for now. Change colour. Let's number these. So A is 1, B flat is 2. We've got 2 here as well. We've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12. So what we can actually see there is the application of that row. It just essentially spills forth 1 through to 12. Okay, so it's happening, I guess, in terms of durationally. It happens as we go through time. We see the ordering of those pitches 1 through 12. What you'll notice and hopefully recognise in other discussions we've had about the 12-tone system is the fact that these pitches can really fall on any octave. They can really go anywhere. What's important is that the fact in this case that A comes first, B flat comes second, then B, so on and so forth through the row. And in this such strict application of the 12-tone system, which has been used to organise pitch only, it's really super, super rigid. So if we continue on and have a look through and we'll name the notes again, we'll notice something that's happening here. Here's our A, our B flat, our B natural. We're up to G sharp, G, C sharp. So if we're following up the top here, we should then see D, then E flat, so on and so forth. We've got F sharp here, we've got F natural, we've got E, and we've got C. So I won't number them this time. Oh, actually, I better number them this time. So I've got 1, that should be B flat, 2, we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, oops, what am I doing there? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's our row used again. What you'll notice this time, however, is this hopefully happening. We've got here, we've got essentially the tone row used not melodically as it is here, so it just follows a melody or that contour through, but we actually start to use it in terms of, in like a harmonic sort of use, so notes together that I'm just sort of highlighting. So essentially, as you flow through here though, the activation of those notes still happen in order, don't they? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, they sort of come through in that order. Now the entire composition, as I said, is based on this principle essentially. The music sounds really rigid and really actually chaotic and unplanned. It's Schoenberg's way, or Webern's interpretation of Schoenberg's 12-tone system, that it's so strictly applied that it actually, in composition that is so organised in terms of pitch, it sounds so random, essentially. It doesn't sound really musical almost to most people's ears because it's adhering so strictly to that rule. Now, this continues throughout the entire composition, but the more you listen to it, the more you actually hopefully realise that there's structure, recognise there's sequence, there's repeated use of rhythms, there's sort of little motifs that jump out. It's really sharply disjointed and moving away from our expectations of, say, you know, even expressionism and all the way back through music history, melodically in its use. It's jumping all over the place. And that's just a way, the use of the tone row, the use of the really wide intervals between the melodic components and just the clustering of pitches together, principally here, really are trying to throw us off this tonal scent kind of thing. So we're exploring atonality. Every pitch is of equal importance. There's a whole new system and way of organising pitch in music that's essentially being explored through here. Now, as I was saying back at the start, and in class as well, this is really resting upon the history of Western music and how it's developed and constructed. So we see AAB as a really clear form. We see repetition, sequence, all of this stuff happening. But the real point of difference is the tonal pitch, melody, sort of harmonic structure of the work is being completely re-envisaged. It's really quite hard to access. I do appreciate that. It's sort of more an academic exercise almost, isn't it, looking at music like this? It doesn't really convey much apart from, you know, here's 12 notes in order, and I shall continue to use those for the whole composition. So in its attempt to really structure music, it actually sounds really quite chaotic and random when it's some of the more highly structured music that's out there, and there's more that's yet to come as well. So anyway, I hope that makes some kind of sense. I've given you a bunch of resources to support you on this little journey into atonality and the 12-tone system. We are seeing the use, in this case, of this row here, used exclusively, 1 through to 12. We're seeing it used melodically. We're seeing it used harmonically. We're seeing it applied essentially to a very traditional structure of AAB, a work for piano, we are seeing quite wide, large sort of interval jumps to sort of throw us off that scent of tonality, as I said before. But it's really, the 12-tone system is really a way of structuring pitch and organising pitch, freeing us from any traditional sort of vocabulary or understanding or hierarchies that are implied, and really trying to explore something new and innovate something new. So whilst it hasn't really moved beyond the second V&E school, there are still some composers that potentially use this or fragments of it. Schoenberg really claimed this as he claimed the distinction of having written a truly new music, and he thought this would become tradition, thought this would become music, but it actually hasn't. It's been quite isolated in its application and only lasted a matter of years, really. But we'll continue having a look at this, and I'd love you just to delve into the piece and have a bit of a look into its structure, where some of the application of the row may have been relaxed. I think you start to find one almost at the end of bar 5. You start to see some other little things that are tested. So this piece was really like, it is a piano study, but I also suspect it was very much Webern's study of his own compositional application of this device as well, this 12-tone system. Okay, so I just don't want to talk too much at you, especially in this format. Please have a look at the Canvas page and revisit that. Have a look at this video in conjunction with the score and see if I guess you can make sense of what's going on throughout the rest of the composition. It's very, very simple in the fact that the entire composition is based on that tone row above. That's our prime row. It is used pretty much without fail from start to end. And of course, that's a very strict application of the principle that Schoenberg would have actually loved, but Webern did move off into his own direction somewhat by being a little bit more flexible with its application, particularly in his violin concerto that we just did last week. So anyway, have a look through. Please let me know if this is helpful somewhat. I'll keep revisiting this sort of format if it is helpful, and we'll sort of go from there. Thanks, Year 12s. I'll look forward to seeing you next week.